Sheila Seppi is a healer, a speaker, a workshop facilitator, teacher, author, and she's also a walk-in. So what is a walk-in? We're about to learn in what I'm sure will be one of the most fascinating interviews you'll hear this year. Hello, Sheila. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Really good. So I'm tipping that a lot of people have no idea what a walk-in is. So can you start by explaining the term walk-in? What does it mean?
Sure. A walk-in is a soul that has agreed to change places with another soul at a particular given time. Now, most walk-ins have a contract to do so. However, there could be some emergency situations where an accident occurs and a new soul comes in as the old soul leaves. So it's always an agreed upon arrangement.
Okay, so you are a walk-in.
Yes.
Okay, so when did yours take place?
My walk-in experience occurred around September 23rd, 1999. At that time, I was a very ill person. I had been diagnosed with a host of illnesses throughout my life, starting in my early 20s. They thought I had possibly brain tumors. They thought I could have MS, the beginning stages. They warned me that by the time I reached 40, I would probably be in a wheelchair. And that was not a very happy thought. But then later, I just continued to manifest more and more illnesses. And by the time I was in my late 30s, I started having, actually, I was walking down the steps. I put my hand on the handrail and my clavicle shattered. And I went to the doctor. They sent me to an oncologist, and I was diagnosed with bone cancer. And so at one point there, right before the walk-in came in, I actually was walking with a cane. It was very difficult. I couldn't play with my children or anything. And so at that point in my life, I had a very firm belief system that did not include anything extraterrestrial, did not include anything to do with past lives, nothing metaphysical. I thought it was, cop out for past lives, etc. And so I went to bed, a very sick person, and what felt like around 7 o'clock the next morning, it was like someone reached down, grabbed me by the hair of the head. I sat bolt upright in bed, and it was like lightning ran through my body. And I don't know how long I was in that space, but as I began to come back to myself, then the peripheral vision came in first, and then the frontal vision. And as I looked around the room, everything was the same, but everything was different. I came in with clairvoyance and clairaudience and all the clairs, which I didn't even believe in. I began to have past life memories, which I obviously did not believe in. I began to know different healing methods. And for the longest time, I thought that I was having a psychotic break. I thought I was actually going crazy.
So having all these sensations. So how did you react? I mean, you must have been pretty scared.
I was freaked out. I just tell you, I mean, I didn't know what was going on. Like I said, my background was psychology, so I thought I was having a psychotic break or something unexplainable that I didn't know. But I could not even conceive. I had never even heard of a walk-in. I had read a book called Ask Your Angels that introduced me to spirit guides. That's the first I'd ever heard of spirit guides. And so I was very naive, very much in a box. And when these things began to happen to me, I wanted to share them, but when I did, people looked at me like I needed to be locked up. And then I began to believe that too. And so when you have a knowing, and it's almost because, just remember when I first came in, let's just say I was kind of hot off the press, and
Hmm.
all of my senses were just wide open. And it was almost like I could read people's minds. I would know what they were thinking. I would know what their reaction was going to be. I knew where they'd been, what they were doing. And I literally, it was sensory overload. And again, I just thought I was going crazy. And so within 3 months, I had left the marriage that I was in and taken the 3 children. And within another 3 months, I had found my first spiritual teacher. And that was the beginning of my ability to kind of settle and to integrate into my body. But for those first 6 months, I had no idea what was going on. And I found my spiritual teacher because I was looking for a psychologist, because I just wanted her to write me a prescription and get me on meds. And, my life could then go back to normal. That's where my mind was. But when I met with her, she assured me that I was not going crazy and that I was a walk-in. And even though that rang true to me, that was yet something else that just rocked my world because I'd never heard of them before. And the more she explained, the more settled I became, but I also became angry. And so when I left, it was like, I wanted a prescription. I didn't want to hear something else. you know. And so by the time I had walked down the stairs and gotten into my car, I was like, oh, when's my next appointment? I couldn't wait to get back. And so she has her doctorate in psychology, but she also is Hopi in her lineage, and she was raised on the reservation, and she herself is a walk-in. And I've written a book about walk-ins, and I share her story in there. But she had learned about walk-ins from her grandmother, and so she began to kind of take me down this path. And I used meditation, basic shamanic principles. And I found that that was my salvation, learning to settle within myself. And then over the course of 10 years, and it literally took 10 years to heal, the body itself was healed immediately when the walk-in came in.
Right.
But then it was the struggle of learning to eat healthy, learning to change my attitudes, learning to break behavioral patterns, learning to deal with cellular memory. Things would come up, I would respond a certain way, and it was just a reaction. And I had to learn or relearn how to communicate effectively, how to settle within myself and to be a mom.
So was your consciousness the same? Was that maintained even after the walk-in happened, like your
No.
previous consciousness?
No, it was not. Everything about me changed. Everyone around me noticed, and everybody thought I was crazy. Because immediately when I came in, I knew my children, I knew my husband, I knew my mom, my dad, my sister. I knew I came from a big family, but I didn't have this innate connection with everyone. Now, obviously, my immediate family, I did. I was very blessed to come in with that type of a strong connection. And through time, my mom sat me down and said, look, I think you have the beginning of Alzheimer's. Because she would talk to me about family members, and it was like, whoosh,
Wow.
I had no idea what she was talking about. I would meet people when I would go back to visit my family, and I had no idea who they were. I went to a cousin's funeral, and people I had gone to school with and other family members, oh, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm great. How are you? I learned to begin to deflect a conversation and to kind of pretend that I knew what they were talking about, because you just don't go around telling everybody, I don't know who you are, because
Yeah.
then that just, reinforces, yes, I have gone crazy. And so my mom witnessed that so many times that she wanted me to seek help. And I finally said, okay, Mom, look, I'm a walk-in. And I explained what the walk-in was. And when I was over, I expected her, to kind of pat me on the head and say, honey, we need to get you some help. But instead, her response was, do you mean I'm not your mom? It's like, no, you're my mom, just to a new and improved version, and so she could handle that. And she saw all of the differences. I went from, struggling with reading, struggling to communicate, struggling to articulate myself, to a total opposite personality. I still don't have a lot of memories, even about the children. But if someone will show me a photograph and they explain the situation, it's kind of like I can pull it forward, sort of like, if you watch a movie and
Yeah.
you forgot about the movie and then you start watching, it's like, oh, wait a minute. I think I've seen this movie. That's kind of where I was.